remember the son of who you are, It was very funny to me that I'm like, am I going to forget the son of who I am before? Hello. Today is day 96 of our 100 days, 1 hour a day walking challenge. I'm so happy. 96. That means we have 4 days more. Just 4. 4 days more. I can literally count the number of days we have on one hand. 4. Oh God, thank you. Yeah, so that's what we have today. 4 days more, and today we are going to talk about the power of remembering. Yes, the power of remembering. And I started thinking about this topic because, of course, it's the last 4 days, I'm reminiscing, trying to remember, all the things, how it all started, how I've been doing on this challenge, what I've done right, what I've done wrong, what went right, what I could have done better. Just remembering a lot of things, how it has been, the days I wanted to stand up, the day I was challenged, the day I was tired, the day I had one thing or the other, remembering a lot of things. And it has been, a really rich experience for me to try and remember. And I thought, let's talk about remembering today, because remembering is very, very important. It's one ability that God has given us because it is important, And I can just imagine how it would be if we can't remember anything, like we are just in the present, and once we're in the present, we forget everything in the past. Can you imagine how disruptive and chaotic that would be? So it's good to remember. And I know that in this world of today, we are being charged to go on, move forward, forget the past, focus on the future and everything. And I do believe in that, there's a lot of merit in looking forward, moving on, forgetting the past, and just focusing on the future. But there is a lot of benefit and a lot of power in actually looking back sometimes, remembering sometimes, pausing and remembering. And I know we've talked about the power of reflection, I think, on this channel before. If you've not watched that video, you see the link in the description box as usual. And in fact, if you've not watched all the videos, we are nearing the end now, so you can go back and watch all the videos, binge watch everything. Yeah, so there's power in just remembering the past, remembering things that have happened. And when I was thinking of this topic, I just thought of all these movies where somebody gets amnesia, maybe gets into an accident and gets amnesia and they can't remember the past. And there's always a lot of story around it, how the whole person's life is disrupted and everything, and it's always very fun. Those kind of movies are always very interesting. But it's powerful to be able to remember. There's a reason why God gave us that ability to remember. And I was just thinking that what are the things that we can remember, that we should remember? I'll just highlight some of those things. I think the first thing that we should remember is remember who we are. We should always remember who we are. And I think remembrance should be done consciously and intentionally and with purpose. So it's not just remembering for remembering's sake. Remember so that you can learn some lessons from, your remembrance or what you are remembering. So for one, I feel that we should remember, excuse me, who we are, When we remember who we are, then it helps us to have our identity. It helps us to be grounded. It helps us to know who we are and what we are all about, Like, I remember when we were growing up, I don't know if you are Yoruba, you can identify with it, with this. When we are going on, maybe we are going to school, or like when I was going to secondary school, you are going to university, or you are leaving home somehow, your parents will always say, remember the son of whom you are. If you had that kind of advice, let me know in the comment section. Remember the son of who you are, It was very funny to me that I'm like, am I going to forget the son of who I am before? But what they're trying to say is that remember your identity. Remember your values. Remember what you've been taught, So because that is the thing that's going to keep you in the right path as you move ahead in the future. So sometimes we need to pause, look back, and remember who we are. Remind ourselves that this is who I am. This is what I cannot do. This is what I cannot do. This is what I can do. We've talked about the power of values on this channel before. It's in the description box. Everything is there. So sometimes we need to remember that, and it helps us to be grounded. And another thing we need to remember sometimes is we need to remember where we're coming from. And some of us have come a mighty long way, as they would say. A mighty long way, Remember where you came from. Especially some of us and that's a lot of us, came from very humble backgrounds, Remember where you came from. Sometimes when you remember how far you've gone, how far you've come, it helps you to be grounded. It helps you to also not be too proud, because you look at other people and you are like, there goes I, except for the grace of God. Because you see that you've been brought a long way. It helps you to be grounded. It helps you to be more inclined to move forward, because you will be like, if I could come all that way till now, then I have a longer way to still go, And another thing is, we need to remember the things that God has done for us. We need to remember what God has done for us. We need to remember what God has done. We need to remember the good things that has been done in our lives, And that helps us to be grateful. It helps us to be grateful. We've talked about the power of gratitude in this channel as well. Go and watch the video. I don't know, today I'm just talking about a lot of things we've talked about, but because I'm remembering a lot of things. And when we are remembering all the things that God has done for us, it helps us to be grateful. It helps us to have a grateful heart. It helps us to see that, this and this and this and this, Like that song says, it says, count your blessings, name them one by one. And, you'll be able to see what God has done. So when we remember the things that have been done in our lives, then we are more grateful. Another thing that we should remember is, we should remember why we are doing what we are doing. We should remember our why. Don't forget your why. And I know we talked about purpose yesterday. If you have not watched that video on purpose, very powerful. We had a guest with us. Very powerful video. Let's go into the description box. It's linked there. Let's watch it, Sometimes we need to remember our why. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Because when we remember our why, then it will remind us of our purpose. We will not be able to lose track, because when we remember our why, you'll be able to know what's the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. And then it grounds us in our purpose. It helps us, it propels us forward in our purpose when we remember our why. Another thing that we should remember is we should remember our victories. We should never forget our victories. We should remember the victories of the past, things that have gone well, battles that we have fought and won. And when we remember our victories, what that does to us is that it helps us to know that if I could achieve that, then I can achieve more, because it helps us appreciate how powerful we are, how capable we are, It helps us to be more confident, because we know that, wow, I did this, I did that, I was victorious in this, I was victorious in that, I was successful in this, So it helps us to be more fired up, to want to move forward, to want to grow, to want to achieve more, because we can see that, we've had these victories in the past, so we should never forget our victories. And the last thing I think we should remember, which I know there are so many other things, but the last thing I'm going to consider here, and if you think there's any other thing that you feel that we need to remember in order to move forward, in order to grow, let's share in the comment section, let's learn from each other. So the last thing I think we should remember is we should remember our failures. Yes, let's not forget our failures. It's part of what we should remember. We should remember our failures, times we've messed up in the past, times we've failed, times we've not made it, times, we've gone on the ground and fallen, and times we've been wounded. Let's remember those times, because those times is the times that will remind us of our human weaknesses. It will remind us that we are vulnerable. It will remind us that we need the help of God, and we need the help of men around us. And it will remind us of our weaknesses, and to make us to know that as we are standing today, it's not because we are all that, but it's because of the grace of God And then when we also remember our failures, it helps us to know what not to do. Yes, know not what. That's a tongue twister. Know what not to do. Yeah, it helps us to, because we've learned our lessons from the failure. When we remember the failures, it helps us to know that I messed up. This is the reason why I messed up. I better not do that again. It helps us to be, able to move forward and to be more successful in life. So yeah, those are the things I feel we should remember. Remembrance is very important. I'm just thinking about it, and it's like I'm thinking remembering is like looking back. Remembering is like the rare. I don't know if you drive, and I know most of us on this channel drive, but if you don't drive, you can also imagine it, the rear mirror of a car, because you are always looking at the rear mirror of the car while you are looking at the front. So you can't just continue looking at the front, in as much as looking forward at the front of the, as you are driving, is very, very important. Obviously, if you continue looking back and you don't look to the front at all, you're going to have a terrible crash, obviously. But if you continue looking at the front and you never look at the rear mirror to know what is happening at your back, then your driving experience and is not complete, and your journey is not safe, to be honest. So that's just how it is. It's like looking at that rear mirror, in the car. That's how remembrance is. Looking at that rear mirror, it makes your journey complete. It makes your life journey complete. It makes your life journey safe. It makes you to be able to grow in your life, and it helps you to have increased self-development in your life. It helps you to be more rounded. It helps you to be cemented in who you are. It helps you to appreciate where you've come from and where you're going to. And generally, remembering the past helps us to move on in the journey of life and to achieve our purpose and to arrive at our destination. So yeah, that's all I have for us today. And I'm just going to say in conclusion that let us try and remember, do not forget. Do not forget all those things I've talked about, all those areas I've talked about, and any other area that you feel is important. Let's remember, because remembrance is the catalyst that catalyzes us forward and makes us to be able to achieve purpose in life. Yeah, so that's all I have for us today. Let's see how far we've gone. 35 minutes. So I'm gonna see us when I'm done. We're back. Yes, let's see how far we've gone. 67 minutes. Yes, today we've talked about the power of remembering. And as I was coming, I was just remembering this scripture. It's one of my favorite scriptures. It's in Psalm 103, and it says, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless his holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits." It says, don't forget, remember all his benefits. Remember all the things that he has done. And then it goes on to highlight all the things that God has done for us. And, just meditating on that scripture, it just cements in my heart more the reason why we need to not forget, we need to remember. And I want to show you my t-shirt that I got today. Can you see? I hope you can see. It says, "Get your walk on." Get your walk on. So I just want to say thank you to everyone that's joined me from the beginning, those that joined in the middle, those that joined towards the end. If you have not joined this walk, it remains 4 days. I mean, it's not a lot, but it's something. You can still join, right? So get your walk on. If you have not gotten your walk on, get your walk on. And if you have gotten your walk on, I want to encourage you, keep on. Even when we finish this challenge, don't stop. Keep on getting your walk on. So thank you very much for being a part of this journey so far. I'm very, very grateful. I remember you. I remember your contribution to all the success of this channel. Because if I'm just walking and talking to empty air, and there's no point. You are the one that makes the channel worth it. And I'm just going to encourage us as I conclude. Let us remember to remember, because remembering is what keeps us grounded. It's what propels us into our future. And yeah, I'm gonna see us tomorrow. Bye.